Wrapping up, you just talked about the untold suffering that's occurring in Ukraine, and I appreciate your views on that. How do you feel about sanctions? Sanctions on Russia based on the February 24th invasion and the ongoing war on Ukraine. Since then, we had some data yesterday, a projected 7.1% decrease in the GDP in Russia in this quarter, the fourth quarter, about 4% last quarter. In Ukraine, it's about 40, 50%. I believe our sanctions are not having the impact that we had intended. Can you talk about the sanctions on Russia and what we should do, perhaps, to make them more effective, if you believe that's the right course?
Senator, I absolutely agree that the right course is to stay the course on sanctions, to continue tightening the sanctions. One area that I know you are very familiar with and that we've talked about is reducing Russia's energy revenues. One mechanism that is projected to come into place is the oil price cap. I think that is already showing some signs, if realized, that it could be very effective at reducing some of Russia's revenue, but at the same time maintaining some stability in the oil market. I think we need to continue looking at who the actors are in the Russian government and in their wider networks who are a part of the pernicious and malign influence that Russia is projecting. But I am very mindful, that as you pointed out, and as I have seen, that Ukrainians, particularly now with all of these attacks on the civilian infrastructure, on the energy infrastructure, are suffering. I think we want to have these sanctions feeling the impact sooner rather than later. I think based on what I've been seeing of reports, we are starting to see sand in the gears of the Russian economy. We're seeing Russia turning to actors like North Korea and Iran for their weapon supplies. We see that Russia has lost able-bodied workers through mobilization and through flight. And so I think the expectation is that we are going to continue to see the impacts of our sanctions, but I can't predict exactly when that point is. Let me say this. I hope you will, should you be confirmed, I think you will be, once you're there, that you will dig into this issue and give us advice as to how those sanctions can be effectively tightened. And from our conversation, you know how I feel about the energy exports and how that really is what's funding the war machine. Let me ask you a broad question, a tougher one. How do you think you would be most effective in convincing Vladimir Putin, his top officials, perhaps some effective communication with oligarchs, that the illegal, brutal, and totally unprovoked war is also a senseless war and one that is counterproductive for Russia? How would you get Russia to the bargaining table? I think by continuing to do what we're doing right now, which is exacting a cost on the battlefield. I think we've seen already that President Putin has had to pay attention to this issue. He recently felt the pressure to meet with mothers of soldiers, even though some of the meeting appeared staged in terms of participants. The very fact that he felt the need to do that, I think, showed some pressure. And so I think continuing to show that strength of support, that unity of purpose is so very important, because my impression of President Putin and his mindset is that he thinks that he is more patient than we are, that he can wait us out, that our unity of purpose and will crumble before his does. And I think that needs to be demonstrated to him that is not an accurate calculation.
You believe that he believes that his missile supply will last longer than our patients in the West?
He may, although his missile supply appears to be running low.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope that you will strongly support the aid package from Congress to continue our help for all the reasons you just stated, that this is a crucial time in Ukraine, and to keep pressure on Russia, it's important that we maintain our support. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Madam Ambassador.